Hello, everyone, and welcome. Sorry about my brief technical difficulties, as per usual. We are going to talk about defoliation today. One of the most underappreciated skills in this industry. I moved to Canada over 20 years ago, and I primarily worked as a trimmer and a plant maintenance assistant. So I did that for many years, and I got very quick at defoliation. I got a good feel for when and how to defoliate in order to get the most weight, and definitely also think that I know a lot of efficiency tricks that every time I visit a facility, it's very infrequent that I find that defoliation is being done as efficiently and as appropriately as it should be. So today I'm going to share a lot of these secrets with you, and we're going to talk about some techniques that are going to be a little bit different from what you've probably seen on other videos. I do my own thing. I go at my own rate. A lot of people are very careful with defoliation. I'm careful, but I'm quick as a primary focus. And I definitely think that for a lot of facilities, that's what's lacking right now, is that quickness. And also the appreciation of the people that actually know how to do it quickly. It's not the same as in a situation where you have a trim crew and everybody's competing against each other, because it's very straightforward to know how to make your team perform as well as possible in that scenario. That's pretty straightforward. You want people to basically gain a sense of competition. You want tracing and trackability. That means that everyone has their weight tracked, and at the end of the day, you compare weights and you pay people more depending on who's actually able to trim more weight. When it comes to defoliation, for some reason, these kinds of systems, they tend to fall to the background, or they never get implemented. I'll tell you what I typically see at a site, okay? I visit and I see 2 employees per plant taking their time with a single pair of scissors in one hand, and in another hand, just a bare hand, and they go click, 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 little by little. 2 people working on a single plant at a time should never happen. And for most defoliation purposes, I personally do not believe that scissors are the best way to go. It's not the quickest. It's not the most efficient. And hence, you know, when you have this activity that's going to take up so many hours, so much staffing, it's really something that you want to try and cut down on as much as possible. And it's weird how so many people think that the methods I'm going to show you today actually detract from efficiency. You know, the popularization of schwazzing technique has become something that a lot of companies shy away from because they think that it costs more money to do these things. Well, I don't think that you're doing schwazzing right if it's costing you more money to defoliate your plants. And I don't think that you're necessarily building a company that's set up for success if you have people spending 30 minutes per plant to defoliate. So I've seen these ridiculousness, you know, for indoor plants, that should never be the case. You should have a steady pace of progress. That progress should be measurable. And there are some very specific steps that we must follow in order to have success again and again, in my opinion. Step number 1, folks, clean hands. Very well trimmed fingernails, very clean fingernails. I'm going to teach you how to defoliate with your bare hands today, because I believe that for most defoliation scenarios, that's where you want to focus, and that's the mistake. Number 1 mistake that I'm seeing at grow sites is everyone is fastened to their trimmers. Get rid of those. Get rid of those scissors. Learn to use your hands. Learn to do the stuff that I'm talking about today. But before that, make sure that you've cleaned your hand with both soap and alcohol. And yes, a lot of people like to use gloves. I'm sorry, folks. I hate to use gloves on my hands. I can't take it. It makes me actually a little bit less efficient I love the feel of the stem and the leaf between my fingers and the amount of feel that I can get with bare hands. Yeah, sure, I have to clean my hands later because they're going to be full of resin. Maybe not so much with a plant that's still fully in veg cycle as the one that I have here. Let's see what I have here. I'm going to Tsleil-Waututh time warp here. Tsleil-Waututh time warp that is destined to be tested in the field this year. So basically, I'm going to be teaching a lot of you that are out there preparing your plants for the outdoor season. Maybe you're going to stick them in a greenhouse. I'm going to show you how to prep your plants and maybe like also reduce your workload later on in the season, because we're going to be defoliating a lot more aggressively than I'm sure a lot of you are currently doing. We need to be aggressive with defoliation right before our flip. This girl, she won't be flipping until, let's say, July 1st. That's when she's going to get put out. Usually in BC, that's the date that I aim for to get my plants out on July 1st. If you have a greenhouse and you can keep vegging outdoor, that's fine, but you're going to need to have some supplemental lighting if you're going to go out before July 1st, because again, remember, July 1st is right around where you get that full 12-12 light cycle that triggers your plant into flowering. So Tsleil-Waututh time warp, for those of you that don't know, is a local heirloom from the BC coast. She comes from Tsleil-Waututh Island. It's a very famous island in the coast for cannabis production. There was a lot of draft dodgers that came up there in the 70s. As we know, back then and even today, Californian genetics, American genetics in general, they're the cutting edge. And these hippies, they brought up this particular plant. As you can see, she's got a brilliant dark stem. The dark coloration of the stem is, I'm going to bring you up a little bit closer to that plant here. Let me actually disconnect this. The dark coloration of that stem is really, really something. It's almost a black stem. The coloration of the cola likewise will be very dark, sometimes almost black, but deep purples. The lightest are red, full of anthocyanin, that famous flavonoid that so many people think is, about flavor, when in reality it's mostly about pigmentation, right? So here we've got ourselves a beautiful Tsleil-Waututh time warp plant that is very rare to have. A lot of people think that this is impossible to find. It is not. Any of you who are still collecting seeds from collection seed companies, you can collect these seeds from BC Bud Depot. Probably does the most stable line. The best line I've ever grown from seed comes from that company. I actually got the seed for this plant directly from the old man that was, one of the older folks that was responsible for taking care of these seeds and preserving them for future generations. The old man passed away about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago now. And I was lucky enough to be the recipient of a few of those seeds. They are original seed stock, meaning that they are old seeds. I think the seed stock that comes from a run that was done in the 90s. And so, yeah, I've got a lot of these different phenotypes laying around my experimental mother room. And I thought it would be a great example today to demonstrate the defoliation techniques. Today is Defoliation Nation. Folks, you've met my Tsleil-Waututh. Any of you that are in the chat group right now, keep in mind, I can't look at the chat group because I'm broadcasting live. I'm not seeing all of your comments. I apologize. I'll see all of them later. I will respond to all of them later as well. You can look at my responses on the, that little chat that pops up at the bottom of the YouTube videos. Very technical terms I throw around when it comes to technology. But so anyways, we've got ourselves here. You can see how she doesn't really have, people like to call her a sativa. I say, well, to me, yeah, she's tall. I mean, you can tell how she's probably got like a month of veg, and she got like this, maybe like a little bit over a month. So, I mean, you can tell she's going to be a tall girl. The buds have quite a bit of density though, and the leaves are not exactly what we would call the most traditional narrow leaf formation. Like it's got some hybridic traits. Ooh, you can see how she's actually got a little bit of a thread problem, this one. Yeah. Those of you that don't know, like, you know, this coloration, this spotted discoloration is a telltale sign of thrips. So you see, one of the advantages of having people that really know plants do defoliation, because again, remember, people that defoliate are probably some of the most underappreciated people in the industry, man. Like if trimmers are underappreciated, folks that do plant maintenance are probably, we were the historically the most underappreciated, the most underpaid. But I'll tell you something, I got really, really fast. I got fast and I could take care of substantial size rooms by myself. I definitely got up to 25 bucks on the hour at one point in my career, and got a good amount of respect just for the amount of speed. Obviously, trust, people want to be able to trust you in the illicit sector, but speed and demonstrating that you can go quicker than others, and knowing that people, when a boss knows they can leave you alone in a room, they're going to come back and like an enormous amount of work is going to be done. And like if they left another person in another room and they compared the amount of work that was done, they would see how much more work was done by that person that really knows the plant and really knows how to accelerate the process. So I'm going to propose something to all of you out there today. I'm going to propose to you that, like, after I show you what's up today, that maybe you consider, if you work for a facility or you know somebody that runs a facility, maybe like having a talk with them, showing them a portion of this video and letting them know that, like, if you show appreciation for people that do defoliation, those plant maintenance people will work harder, better, smarter. They will get more results. And the more that you can accomplish with a single worker in the instance of defoliation, the more work you can squeeze out of a single worker while they remain happy, while they remain vibing at their job, right? They're happy about being there. The more that you can do that, the more that you're going to see staffing problems resolved. You're going to keep people for longer periods of time in the position. You're not going to have to retrain. You're going to have these individuals that, by the speed and the reliability that they provide you, they will improve your bottom line. They will make you make more money, and not just a little bit more money. I have this theory that, like, if people were to take defoliation more seriously and remunerate those people accordingly, that you would see substantial improvements in your bottom line, because defoliation is an activity that takes up so much time. So many staff hours go into that activity. So taking that job seriously as a worker is really important. And then as an owner or as somebody who is an administrator, noticing who takes the job seriously, putting in, this is the key, folks. We're going to do this right now. We're going to take her down and you're going to time me. But this thing about timing, it's a lot like weighing your trimmed bud in a room where there's trimmers. Whenever I walk into a room full of trimmers and administration has not put in a system for weighing every single trimmer individually, I just want to rip my hair out of my head, because as a site owner, historically, like, I know how much money it saves me to ensure that everybody is competing against each other, that everybody's got an idea of how much they process that is accurate, and that they gamify that experience, that you're competing against yourself from yesterday and last month, but you're also competing against everyone else in your room. And it's not really about who wins. It's about knowing that we all get to a high level, knowing where our level is at, and knowing that we're all at a high level. Once everybody's at a high level of production, then you can start to pay people a little bit more, retain them for longer, and you set these benchmarks for performance. You set performance benchmarks that say, hey man, you take down this much weight, you're going to trim a pound or two for me a day, you're going to get paid well. You're going to get paid real well. Why are we doing that for trimmers, but we're not doing that for defoliators? Because people don't know the tricks of the trade. They don't know how to implement easy systems to track and trace performance. Right now, all of you are going to observe me defoliate one plant as quickly as I can, as gently as I can. You're going to time me. And then you're going to start thinking, well, what if ownership and administration started doing this at site level? What if like we gamified defoliation by providing people incentives to actually process a certain number of plants quicker? And obviously that the work is done right, that they were gentle with the plant, that they're not breaking the top branch and, you know, defoliating so gnarly, so harshly that you're actually causing a detriment and causing a loss of weight on your final harvest. So you're going to see that I'm going to clear the bottom half of this plant. That's what I'm going to focus on. There's a lot of people that have been very influential for me in learning how to defoliate. I want to give a shout out to books written by Jorge Cervantes were so influential to me. Kyle Cushman's video of defoliation really gave to the general public all of the methods that I had been practicing behind closed doors. And it made me so happy to see that. I believe that he teaches for Gangier, and I'm not the kind of person that like feels competitive with other educators that are doing their job right. I compete with mediocre educators. I want to squash their voice. I want to put another perspective in line. People like Gangier that are really doing their job right, I got nothing but mad respect for, you know, huge crew of OGs. I believe Kyle Cushman teaches with them, and he's put out some excellent videos on defoliation. I've seen, so obviously we gotta talk about schwazzing, right? Because everyone's schwazzing now. What is schwazzing? Well, I'm actually going to show you a slightly more lean back version of schwazzing right now, because I do believe that a lot of people schwazz too hard. Schwazz is a term that refers to removing essentially all of your fan leaves right at the moment of flipping your plant over from vegetative cycle over to flowering cycle. And then again, right around from day 18 to day 24, depending on which type of cultivar you have, you're going to defoliate again hard and remove pretty much all the fan leaves, exposing all of your nodes, all of the areas that are going to be bud sites to as much light and CO2 as possible. Meanwhile, you pump the nutrients. But of course, I grow in living soil, and I only use top dress and side dress, those kinds of tricks that, you know, I can still pump the newts, but I do it in a totally natural form and maybe a little bit more cost-effective form. But anyways, point being, we're really going to try to illustrate schwazzing, lollipopping, all of these methods that are very common, very popular in the industrial scene. These are the methods that you use to get real weight, but also, in my opinion, it's the method that you use to reduce your administrative burden, because you have one person doing a lot of damage one time, and then you don't have to come back for a couple of weeks. This thing that people do where they defol like every few days or every few weeks, I say, you know, that's all good and well, but not necessary to place that much administrative burden on keeping up with your defol, man. You can do it a lot more efficiently by ensuring that you get as much done as you can in that one visit to the plant. And so let's look at what I do with my one visit to the plant, okay? Again, the defol is very, very, very gnarly Texata timewar plant. You can see how she's got all kinds of bottom growth. It's not desirable. I've already washed my hands. I've already trimmed my nails. Keep that in mind, okay? I'm here at a little dirty grow site that I run. So many little grow sites that I collab with. And this is one of my favorites. Some of my favorite people in the world live upstairs. I like to take good care of this site. This is where I keep most of my experimental plants with Mike Hichi. Shout out to Mike Hichi, Green Grow Systems, check him out. So yeah, again, this is a plant that was gifted to me from a friend who knows the family of the old hippie, one of the old hippies that was responsible for preserving this line. And when he passed, I was lucky enough to get him. So here we go. This is my girl again. Slight thrip issue. very slight drip issue, not a big problem. I'm going to get it treated. I'm going to get it treated after I defol. Yeah. Most of the time, you want to do whatever IPM strategy, right? Integrated pest management strategy after you defol. And obviously, I've got a bucket right here, folks. It's really important that people know that you shouldn't even start this process until you've set up your area. I hate seeing people walking back and forth between their bag or their buckets, you know, to go and deposit the leaves that they've been removing. Don't do that. Don't do that, folks. Always set up your area so that your hands, again, I don't use trimmers most of the time, no scissors. My hands are my scissors because my hands are basically, you ever seen Edward Scissorhands? How that guy's got two scissors on, he's got a pair of scissors on each hand. Well, that's basically what we're gonna do. I have called it the Edward Scissorhands method, but I don't like coining stuff like that because honestly, most of the badass defoliators that I work with, they all use two hands the way that I have. And I've learned from people that do outdoor growing, you really got to go fast. And you really have to be a little bit more brutal with a plant if you want to go fast, right? So again, if you're running a site, outdoor, greenhouse, indoor, defoliation eats up so much of your time and you got to go quick. So how do we go quick? Well, I'm going to pull you a little bit closer. I want you to be able to see my hands, okay? All in the hands, folks. It's getting comfortable with not even looking at where you're ripping your leaf from. It's literally learning to do it by feel. At this point, remember, we haven't flipped the plant over to flowering stage. So there are no nodes to clear. We're gonna actually go into another room in a moment where we do have nodes to clear. We have buds that I've developed that are too far down below the trellis level, and hence I have to clear them. I have to clear them so that I can get more growth on my top. Unfortunately, we're a little bit late. We're at the 3rd week of flowering, so those buds are a little bit, so much energy has already been diverted from the plant to produce stuff that's not going to give me any weight. So many LPs that I visit, they're like, yeah, no, we'll clean off that bottom half later. But remember, here, this is my mother room. This is more acceptable in a mother room. But this is a production room. This plant should never have been like this. This plant should have always had the bottom half cleaned, always, because every time you let that bottom half accumulate with foliage, you just redirected energy from your tops to your bottoms. You never want to do that. You always want to have your plant, even in veg stage, focused on directing all of its energy towards the top growth, not the bottom growth. You want to clear the bottom half of this plant way before this point. If you're in a production room, I need to make that clear. Okay. So again, this is for demonstration purposes. I'm pulling this girl out of my mother room. And now what you're going to get is a demonstration of speed defoliation where I'm going to essentially schwaz the plant, but I'm going to go a little bit less harsh because she is intended to go outdoor into living soil pots, and schwazing is not designed for living soil, much less outdoor. So you can't do a full schwaz. You can't remove all fan leaves. That's a big no-no for this outdoor plant. So I'm going to do a partial defol, a partial schwaz that will set me up for success, reduce my administrative burden, while at the same time not depleting the plant to the level that it'll be detrimental to my final harvest. Okay? So each defol must be adjusted to the cultivar and its intended uses. There is not one way of defoliating. What are you planning to do after with that plant? What's the intention of this cultivar, and what is the genetic? What does it lend itself to? Does it like schwazing? Does it not like schwazing? I can tell you, Tsleil Time Warp does not like harsh schwazing. I know this. I've done it, tried it, been there, miserable. So in fact, in general, she just doesn't like to grow indoors. This is an outdoor plant. This is a acclimated outdoor cultivar from the mid-70s. Okay, all right, here we go. Folks, it's important that we all keep an eye on the timer. Okay, so I know all of you have a little clock on your screen right now. I'm gonna get you as close as I can here so you can see what I'm doing. I've got my bucket here, my plant, Hands are clean. I roll back my sleeves. I mean, usually at a production site, you're gonna have your nice white lab coat on, right? Yeah. You can have gloves. I'm just old school people. I like to have my skin on the plant. I'm sorry. The whole thing for me is a thing. I need to have my bare hands to go as fast as I like to go. And again, you'll notice the end result and how quick I get there on one plant, and then how I could replicate that in my entire site with my entire staff. And I could be moving through my defoliation probably at half the rate that most of you are, because you're being too slow, too cautious. You're babying your plant too much. She can take the punishment. She wants the punishment. Give it to her. Here we go. I'm going to start off. Okay. It's actually way funner for me to go fast. Like if you were to force me to do this slowly, I would suffer throughout my day. Doing this quickly is so nice. It just also gives you like this sense of, I really accomplished something today. You've got a big field of plants, and you get assigned a role, because that's usually how I like to encourage people to go fast on my teams. Oh my God, she's so greasy. I wish you could smell this, the citrus together with the, I'll keep going just so I'm still expedient. All of these small branches, folks, these small, they come off, they shoot off the sides of your main branch, right? It was like here, click, right off. Those are called sucker branches. You don't keep those. Those are going to suck up the energy of your plant. See another, look at this, sucker branch, little sucker branch on the side of my main stem. Every single one of these sucker branches gotta go. I'm also going to get better light in here. Second, folks. Get better light. Yeah. That was about that. You know, my team is a very small, tight team, mostly out of patients and OGs. So I really appreciate all of your patience with the production issues sometimes. Yeah, I know our production isn't the best in the world. We don't have the most funding behind us, but I hope you appreciate our content. And, you know, again, usually what I like to aim for is a couple minutes per plant. I can do a couple minutes per plant. Oof, if I can get it down to a minute a plant, oof, it makes me really proud and makes me really happy, because I know that at that rate, I'm going to accomplish a substantial amount in half an hour. And I'll look back in half an hour. And I was saying that one of the ways that I really like to inspire staff to do more with their time in the defoliation room, well, not the defoliation room, in a defoliation session, is to assign each staff to a role. You know what I'm talking about. All grow rooms and fields, they have rows. Instead of having staff intersecting in a single row, I like to spread staff out. And I like to, and notice how folks, really what I'm doing when I'm getting in here with my hands. Let's illustrate what I'm doing. Really what I'm doing is, without even looking at it, I don't know if all of you are seeing me, I'm not even looking at where I'm ripping a lot of the time. My hand knows that if I hit this stem, petiole, sorry, I'm gonna follow it down. If this leaf, I'm gonna follow it down to where it meets the main stem, and then my finger's just gonna gently push. That's how I'm doing all of this. I know you're seeing me do this very quickly, and you're like, "Hey, whoa, what's going on?" Well, my hands are just getting down to where that leaf meets the main stem, and I'm just gently ripping it, every single time, and that means that the bottom half of this plant has now been cleaned, and the top half is now still with the fan leaves. So what I'm going to do at this point is just go in and remove those fan leaves. And just like I did right now, right? Look, check this out. Again, you've got the leaf, petal hitting the main stem. And I'm going to go down to where that leaf touches the main stem. My finger is going to go right in that little elbow. Boom, that little armpit, boom, slap it right off. The thing is, I'm moving very quick, so you don't get to see it, right? But that's what I'm doing. And look at the speed that I can actually implement once I get good at this, right? Your staff can learn how to do this. If any of you want me to come into your facility and teach your staff how to use 2 hands at all times, and basically, like I said, it's a feel thing. Your finger just knows. Look, I'm not even looking at it. My finger just knows that I have to crawl down to the base of where that leaf meets the main stem, and that's where I do my snap. And it's just a little bit of pressure that I apply between the tip of my index finger and my thumb to snap, 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 snap. Here, I'll bring it closer for you so you can see it again. Even though I'm doing all this demonstration, I bet you I'm cleaning this plant a lot quicker than most of the staff out there are currently doing. Look, see, that's where it meets. Pinch. See how it bends the stem a little bit, but I'm gentle with it. I don't snap the main stem. I leave it right there. I'm just going very quickly. So I'm going to continue to repeat that action over and over and over. And see how, like, I've got 2 hands. That's the thing. When people use one clipper, okay, you're not going to go fast. You have one point at which you are removing the leaf. When you have 2 hands and both of them are hitting the leaf, the fan leaves all over your plant, well, it's kind of like watching a giraffe or something. It's like you're literally watching an elephant clear out leaves. I don't know if you've ever seen an elephant eat, but they're very efficient at clearing off all the leaves from the central stem. And that's really how I learned how to do this, to be honest, because it became very frustrating for me to watch rooms full of people in Canada go at like way lower of a rate than I've seen outdoor growers in, for example, Mexico go. And that's like frustrating because I know we can go way faster, because I've seen it been done outdoor, and the Rastas too. Like they can go fast, man, under the sun, sweating, going so fast. And then we see all these people in these indoor facilities, air chilled, and they're going so slow and they're getting so little done. I'm like, what? Also, look, folks, this trick, like sometimes I just clear the stem just like that. I hold the top, clear the stem. Yeah, that leaf that branch didn't like that too much. You see that? It actually drooped right after I did that clearing. Clear the stem. Now, that means just sometimes I get to take my finger and run it down the stem and clear all of those nodal growths, all of them, all of the nodes come off. I'm even taking off all of these little sucker branches off the sides using the same method that I was using for those leaves, where I crawl down to the place where the leaf meets the base of the stem, the main area of the stem, and I just snap by pinching. Okay. And again, by having those 2 hands, that Edward Scissorhands effect, man, I just look at this. Look at this. This plant is ready. This plant is done. I can move on to the next plant. This girl is ready to go. And see how I left all of that top growth while all of my bottom is cleared. All of it is cleared. And it took me no time at all. It took me, I was explaining, I was stopping to talk, I was showing you stuff. Some people take more than 5 minutes to complete a plant like this, you know? Beautiful thing is, once you've got these skills and you're in the room just checking out the plants, if you want to quickly clean something up, you can so quick, so quick. A lot of people are like, no, you can never touch a plant with your bare hands. You're going to pollute it. You're going to fill it full of viruses and bacteria, and we're going to fail our Health Canada test. Trust me, that's not going to happen. Believe me, please believe me. This thing about getting people to like, oh, with one glove and one scissor, go super slow. It's not doing you any favors. It's costing you a shitload of money, and you're not getting more weight, and your plants are not happier. What I just did with my bare hands right there, this plant is happy. She does not mind it. She just had it clean. Everything is cleanly ripped from the stem. There's no damage. I'm just gentle to the touch. It's all about feel. all about feel and confidence and knowing what is possible. I think a lot of people that haven't worked in large, like outdoor grows, like, yeah, I'm sorry, but I've seen a field run by Marco in Mexico. I have, and I've seen what they do. And I'm sorry, but those people are fucking efficient. What they do and how they do it. They run some big ass grows, man, or at least they did a few years ago back when I was there. I've heard that a lot of the cannabis production in Mexico has just been going less and less and less of it. But always there's going to be somebody in Sinaloa or Michoacan or Jalisco growing a big field. And those people, man, they know how to fucking defoliate those humongous fields quickly, fast. And they move and they move and they move and they move. I look in the indoor rooms and the amount of time and money being spent on staff clearing out foliage in there. Now you see how I left some fan leaves. I left some fan leaves. If you were doing full on schwazzing, you would have lollipopped, meaning that you clear off all the bottom stem until the very top. That's called lollipopping, right? Makes sense. The nice, juicy top is going to get nice and fat because the plant is not directing its energy to grow anything down here. It's directing the energy to grow the top colas, grow nice, big top buds, which constitute a cola, right? So this is the way to prepare your plants for your outdoor. I'm telling you, you leave a bit of your fan leaves on top, clear her out hard at the bottom, be savage. Did you see how quickly I went and the amount of damage that I did? Be savage, please. Do it. Trust me. Your plant will thank you later. This is going to decrease the chances of, and yeah, I did, yes, folks, that much. That much? Keep in mind this plant, when you flip it, when I take it outdoors in July, let's say it was July 1st today. This is what I would have done on July 1st. I would have prepped her for field by clearing off the bottom half, ensuring that she's not going to put on any of that energy into growing anything down there. And in fact, I would have cleaned that off before July 1st so that she wouldn't have even put any energy into the bottom canopy. She would have been putting all her energy into the top there. Okay. So again, I'm going to take a plant that's already really strong, already got the bottom cleared. So if I'm growing living soil the way that I'm going to do, all of that cleared area ensures that my top cover, remember, we're going to use like alfalfa, barley, buckwheat, all of that top cover, some of it turns into these rather tall grasses. It's not going to interfere with my buds. So I don't actually have to worry that much of keeping a lot of maintenance around my top cover. A lot of people are like, I don't do top cover because that's so much extra work, man. I got to trim the top cover. Sure, if you're indoor and your plant canopy starts around here, sure, I get you. But if you're growing big ass plants to go outside and do something crazy, like this girl's going to turn into a veritable tree. She's going to keep vegging in here for another month. I'll have her out there July 1st. She's going to be a big girl, right? So all I'm saying is that she won't have a problem interacting with that top growth. That top growth can get wild. The entire stem is not going to have, it can touch the stem. Look how much room there is. Trellis will start around here. If I was to take her out today, it would start around here. Okay. And when I take her out, she's still going to veg for 2 more weeks. She's still going to stretch more, especially because it's a Texada time warp. She loves to stretch, as you can see. So if you're setting your plant up to go outside and you're doing defol, and you think I just went way too far, trust me, you are wrong. You are not being harsh enough with your defol. And frankly, this is what you want to do indoors too, folks. You want to do this in every single scenario. Clearing off your bottom like this, 9 out of 10 times I visit an LP, they do not clear off their bottoms even remotely hard enough. And they're like, that's okay. We'll use that stuff to make concentrate. But I'm like, what would you rather use to make concentrate? Because you can still make concentrate, get just as much weight out of your plant, maybe more. Instead, you get to use top cola to make concentrate. What an idea. Oh my God. Why would we ever sell top cola to make concentrate, man? Because we get more money from selling the top cola by itself. Well, straightforward answer to that. Do you want to be known as a brand? If you're going to pump any concentrate into the market, It's just like a French restaurant. Any dish on your menu has got to be killer. That's how you build a brand that is ironclad, that is worth gold. Dunk, dunk, dunk. It is just solid as a fucking rock. Any product category that you roll out, be the best. You want to be the best in concentrates, run Top Cola. If you got the same amount of weight out of your rooms and you're currently diverting a portion of your crop to extract just because you've got bottom swag, well, guess what? You don't need to grow bottom swag. You're doing that to yourself. You can stop today. Yes, stop, thank you. And remember, you're going to get there a lot quicker by training the hell out of your defoliation crew, not underestimating how much a well-trained defoliation crew will save you, how much it will make you at the end of the day in terms of the size of your cola, the weight of that cola, how much the general public falls in love with the fact that you're selling top colas and your competitors are selling shaky bags of swag. Like, listen, I hate to like name names, but like there's SKUs in the market that I love that have the worst bud integrity that I've seen in my life. And I can guarantee you that that bud integrity would be fixed right up if those people were actually doing their defoliation and the clearing. It's not just defoliation. I want to make something very clear. It's really about the clearing of the nodes. A lot of people would leave, like if you have a little, let's say you got like a 2 weeks of flower and you're doing your final schwaz right before you go into full flower development. This has to be done a second time in the plant's life. I did it right now before she goes to flip. Obviously, this is a demonstration session, and I'm setting her up for success now because she's gonna veg for another month. Think about it. And instead of putting time into growing this garbage, she's gonna go up, 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 up for the next month. So this is a very wise thing to do. Right before I go out to field, I'm gonna schwaz again. But again, it's like a scaled back schwaz method. Again, schwazing is removing pretty much all of your fan leaves at the moment of flipping, and then at the moment when you have full bud development onset, which is basically after the second week of being on the 12-12 cycle. Okay, so long story short, right now, if I was to leave her in that room for another month, I would still need to do the same motion again before going out to field or putting her into the flowering room. Okay, 2 weeks after she's been in the field, I would do it again. Yes, yes, clear out the bottom, get rid of any sucker branches. Again, do we have any sucker branches left here? No, I cleared off. Oh, I was too good at my job. I cleared off all the sucker branches. I guess maybe we could call this kind of a sucker branch, this little guy. So tiny, but not really. It's good enough. You've cleared off all the sucker branches. You re-clear those off right before you go to field, okay? And that means that when you go to field, you've got all this stuff cleared off. You've got your plant stretching on the top half, setting itself up to have big ass colas on the top half and nothing but big colas. No shake, no swag, none of that. No teeny tiny buds. If you're growing outdoors, you can grow big ass buds. Why not do it? I mean, again, a lot of people would answer, botrytis, black mold. Yes, that is true. You can get more instances of botrytis of larger buds. That's one of the reasons why it is important to select cultivars like Tsleil-Waututh time warp that can pop a good amount of limonene, defend itself. Not just limonene, there's other compounds I'm sure that I don't know about that this plant produces to make it so that she actually prefers growing under the rain, in the humidity, sometimes 100% humidity, sometimes rain for a week or two. She doesn't mind it. She's designed for it. And in fact, if you bring her indoors and you coddle her, she fucking hates it. She's like, no, man, take me outside. I like it outside. Okay. So I really, really, really think that sites that grow outdoors that don't have these type of mentalities of like going fast, knowing how to defol, you're straight up going to fail because your cost of production isn't going to be what it should be. And like, honestly, you're not going to get it. Like the biggest, most beautiful bud development on your plant, your genetic has to be acclimated, meaning that that bud is set up not to get botrytis in that environment. You know she's going to finish and she has a good chance of success. And B, you've got to do your plant maintenance right. You've got to set her up for success by being harsher than most folks would be. Most people would be like, no, don't, you've taken off too much leaf. Trust me, I haven't. Trust me. This is the right way to go. This also ensures that, again, for the next couple of weeks, I don't need to worry that much about defol anymore. I can let her go a little wild and come back in a couple of weeks and do it again. And that's reducing the number of times that people have to be in the room. It's reducing the number of times that people have to work on the plant. It's reducing the amount of money that I'm spending. Bottom line, it's time, cost savings. Yeah. And yeah, I can get obsessive and I could just keep going. But like, honestly, like I have so much room here. I could like clear off some more off of this top cola, make it even cleaner. Leave just that right there. See what I just did with that branch? Leave just this part growing right there. It doesn't really take me that much extra time because I'm going so fast with the clearing. Remember, clear, just go like down like that. And sometimes you get like a little hamstring developing. That's an instance where you have to just pull the opposite direction for one moment to stop that, to stop the peeling of that hamstring. See that hamstring right there? This is not good. You don't want to be ripping this off the exterior of your stem. That will expose your stem to pathogens, viruses, more so bacteria, more than anything. So you want to do that as little as possible. You want to be very careful. That's why a lot of people use scissors. They're like, oh, but I get these little fibers that peel the outside of my stem. And that's just, I say, folks, you stop the peel. As soon as you see it, you stop it by going the opposite direction. Okay. And it's worth it to get the efficiency out of it. No, this isn't the cleanest way of trimming a plant. No, this is not like the most delicate way of cleaning a plant. No, that's all true. That's not my point. My point is, look how fucking fast I did that. So fast. Didn't even make an effort on that one. If I make an effort, I can get a plant a minute to 2 minute a plant. I'll move at 2 to 3 times the rate of a normal defoliation plant maintenance expert. Okay, they're only experts if they really take their job seriously. And this is something that people are like, anybody can do it. You know what it's like? It's kind of like serving. It's like a waiter at a restaurant. People think anybody can be a waiter. You don't really need that much training. Just get to it. That's why service in Canada fucking sucks most places, man. That's why in the States they have better service because they train the shit out of their servers. Or at least there is more training, more of a training culture around service industry. That's the reality, folks. I come from Mexico where, again, service is at a different level. Sure, you go to like the small loncheria, maybe not. But if you go to a good restaurant in my country, or even like a so-so restaurant, the fucking servers know how to move fast and they know how to take care of you at like a level in which, I'm sorry, a lot of Canadian establishments don't do because we're too lackadaisical and we believe that that individual, anybody can do that job. That kind of attitude is a disrespect to the people that are good at that job, that actually take the job seriously. And it's a disrespect to you and your business. You're underestimating the amount of skill that it takes to execute at a high level in the context of your business. That's a deadly mistake. And it's one of the most common mistakes because it's seen as the job that is at the bottom of the ladder. So I really, really hope that after today's session, all of you reconsider, again, what a lowly plant maintenance person can learn what to become. Because I don't want to toot my own horn, but I've gone a lot of places since I moved to this country and was a plant maintenance guy over 20 years ago. And I have a firm belief that if I would have taken that job seriously and tried to get real good at that job, make my bosses super stoked, get them to go, goddamn, well, Adolfo, he can be the manager for our room. And then maybe he can be the manager for part of our grow site. And maybe we should teach him how to feed the plants too. And maybe we should teach him this and that. And now later I was the dude that you could just send to your site and I could fix your bug problem or your feed problem or your burn problem or whatever the fuck your problem was. And that's how that happens, is one step at a time, working your way up from the bottom, knowing that every single job everything, it's like the same thing with like objects. We take so many objects around us for granted. This bucket, somebody had to design the bucket. Somebody had to think about that design and the thickness of the plastic, where to position the handle, how hard does the metal for the handle need to be, how the hole needs to be drilled on the side of the bucket. Everything that seems super simple in this world is not. Everything required a brain, a heart, an intention. And this job is something that, again, if you create the opportunity for people at your company to learn how to do this correctly, learn how to do it quickly, and basically have the opportunity for growth in that role, a role that you think, I'm always going to have high turnover, I'm always going to have to retrain, oh, people are just going to do it at their own rate, man, it doesn't really matter, it's easy. You're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing the life of that person a disservice without it. Trust me. It's actually Canadian people who inspired me to become who I am, because I came from a culture that doesn't have a lot of cannabis knowledge. Because it's so illegal and so dangerous, it's like specific kinds of situations and individuals that end up, gaining that insight, and it's not there for everyone. Only because people taught me how to defol right and quick, and they were like, dude, that's not fast enough. I went back to Mexico many years later, and I saw people do it even faster than I'd ever seen in Mexico. I saw a Rasta dude that was fucking maybe the fastest I've ever seen in my life. And that's really like what I want to share with this session with all of you more than anything. That like the worker and the work needs to be appreciated. And that's number one. What a worker can truly be. And number two is having that sense of responsibility as an ownership to say, well, if I know better, if I know that I should be clearing actually this harsh before my flip to go to my outdoor field, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not ensuring that every worker is not very fully an understanding of what my standard operating procedure is around this activity that we're going to be doing so much of. There's going to be a lot of defoliation, no matter what kind of site you grow, what type of method you implement. There's going to be a lot of defoliation happening there. Let's all agree on that. So having a plant that ends up like this every single time, nice and clean, lollipopped all the way up. Remember, lollipopping means I'm clearing all my bottom nodes, all of my sucker branches, all of my leaf, until I get to that top area. And I have literally just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nodes there that I've left that are all really jam-packed together. And to be honest with you, if this was an indoor plant, I would probably even clear off the bottom half of that before going into my flower room, because again, she's going to continue stretching before she goes into my flower room or into my field at July 1st. That stretch is going to account for more bud sites. And instead of producing, sometimes I'll be honest with you, in the case of this one, like internodal spacing here, it's going to be very tight. That's not the end of the world for me. For this plant, I know she's going to continue to stretch up here. And that stretch is going to be dense cola, man. That stretch of that one stretch that I left with, that is still with its leaf and its nodes, she's going to produce for me because I did that. And the value of that each individual flower will be greater because it will be more big colas, no bottom swag. No, none of these tiny bud sites that don't give me any production. Remember, be harsh. So be savage. Take off a lot of material. Use both hands. Of course, your hands have to be very clean. Very, very clean before you start. Never dirty hands. Never going between rooms, for example, or if you have a field that has had issues, don't just continue going plant to plant to plant to plant without stopping and giving yourself a good wipe down, maybe even changing your shirt, because the chances of you spreading pathogens will be much higher. I wish, what's going to happen, folks. I have a few outdoor fields that I'm going to be planting this year, And I expect to be bringing all of you with me into those fields later on in the year. We'll get a chance to see this beautiful lady growing. We'll get a chance to see so many different plants that I'm trying to see if I can adapt the lines to outdoor growing conditions on the West Coast and in Ontario. That's one of the many projects I'm currently involved with. And I look forward to having another session where we actually apply this method to our plants right before they go out to field. And you can see them out in the field like this. And then you can see them out in the field maybe 2 weeks later. Okay? I can do a video shot for you and edit it and show you. And you'll see the type of growth that we get by the end of the season when we set our plants up for success. So many people, they grow big trees, but the trees are just completely knotted with leaf on leaf, bud on bud, so tightly packed. And I'll be frank with you, cannabis plant outdoor does like that sense of canopy, that sense of, oh, I've got other buds right next to me. It makes it feel like the canopy gets healthy that way and very resilient. I think it has a lot to do with the blocking of harsher wind currents, giving it a good amount of protection, insulating it, creating that perfect microclimate within the actual bush structure. So you definitely do want to have an area of your plant that does get a bit bushy when you go outdoor. You don't want to defol to the point where she gets thin, because that's not going to do you any favors. Trust me, you want to have a little bit of that insular aspect to your structure. But we can only really learn that when we're in the field. So today, I showed you how to prep your plant basically for any setting. Remember, you can go a bit harsher if you're going indoor with your schwazzing. And obviously, schwazzing is designed for pumping your newts on your hydroponic or soilless medium settings, right? So what does that mean? That means that if you schwazz hard, you have to go feed that plant lots of carbs, because those leaves are the sugar repository of your plant. And so if you're going to schwazz hard, you do have to replace those leaves with some extra nutrients. And that's why for living soil and for soil, you don't want to schwazz hard, but you do want to lollipop. You do want to be harsh with your defol. You don't want to leave those sucker branches. You don't want to leave a bunch of nasty foliage accumulating down here. At no point you want it to look pretty much like this. Bottom clear, top still has some life to it, but look how much I've set my top colas up for success. Look at that, how well cleared she is. That's set for success. And remember, folks, a minute or two per plant of this size is what you should aim for. Timing. If you can get it down to close to that 1 minute per plant, that's what I found out is like the quickest rate you can usually achieve. If you can get it down to that 1 minute plant, do 30 plants, 30 minutes, 60 plants, 60 minutes, and you can keep that pace going and you can time yourself. Remember, reward those people. Allow them to earn a bit more, because they are giving you more, much, much more than the average employee. And remember, share that training amongst everyone, every person that gets onboarded. Hey, you're going to defoliate this row. I'm going to defoliate that row. Then we're going to compare and contrast the quality of our work and the rate of our work. And me, as the room administrator, I always assign a team captain, a room captain, that keeps track of the process, reports it back to the central body, right? That is the executive, and allows the executive to reward appropriately. And it creates this most beautiful working environment where you're actually inspired to work hard, to come in every day. You're getting recognized for your high performance. You get to track and gamify your own performance. Folks, this is also the secret recipe for loving your job. And I know that a lot of you that have been to my class, you know that that's what I focus on a lot. Teaching you how to enjoy your life working in the cannabis industry, growing day by day, not just leaving mediocre. Not thinking mediocre, not acting mediocre, always aiming for the higher epsilon, always aiming to try my absolute best with every second that I have on this earth. And hence, I never feel remorse for anything. I always feel happy. I always feel connected to my team. I know who's killing it. I always know, hey, if I'm the best one, like I know I've got that street cred. If somebody else has that higher time, that higher rate of cleaning, of trimming, that person always gets that like shine to them, It's not just about the money. It's about that spiritual dimension to the work. I hope all of you have enjoyed my session today. I hope I haven't bored you. I wish I would have done more plans for you. Again, this is my Tsleil-Waututh time warp, beautiful clean now. She's ready to go. She's going to go back into my bedroom a little bit. I'm going to keep vegging her. I'm probably not going to be clearing off too much of these branches anymore. She's just going to stretch for me. Then I'm going to take her out to field. I'm going to do a slight defoliation before she goes to field. So I'm going to take off some of these fan leaves, thin her out a little bit, get her out to field, and then let her keep stretching for another 2 weeks. Remember, folks, even if you go out July 1st, it still happens. Set yourself up for success, people. Hasta luego. Love you all. See you in a month. Bye-bye.